Hi there. Today I'm going to start a new series on a specific combative technique, the necklock. And this will comprise several episodes. I'll put them up probably once every 3 or 4 weeks until the 4 video series is complete. Necklocks are a feature of numerous martial arts, usually the grappling based arts, but most of the necklocks that are taught currently come from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu via Judo. As I said, there are several different categories which include chokes and the rear naked strangle / lateral vascular neck restraint, as well as spinal locks. We'll discuss each of these in this episode, and then we'll go on to go more specific on subsequent episodes. The final video will be the essential topic of defense against the choke. So we'll be offering our thoughts and techniques and demonstrating the methods on that. So we'll start with the first part of techniques, which will be discussing the choke. So we'll go on to talk about chokes. And chokes, in general conversation, the words choke and strangle are interchangeable. However, the judo terminology gives us 2 completely different interpretations. And we'll start with the choke. Chokes are respiratory restraints. They are attacking the airway. These methods were widely taught to the military in World War II, and the specific technique illustrated here was developed by Moshe Feldenkrais, who came over from France to the UK at the start of World War II. In France, he had trained with Master Kawaishi in judo, and he trained the Home Guard, and he also wrote a manual, Practical Unarmed Combat. I'll put the link to it, and the illustrated techniques are from that. It's what he called the ratchet choke, which is a particularly effective type of choke, because there's a subtlety to it where he uses the forearm. He rotates the forearm upward against the larynx, while at the same time pulling in for pressure. So you've got the double action, which dislodges the larynx to an extent and increases the pressure tremendously. There are 2 main problems with the choke. First, it is very painful. You're compressing vulnerable structures. It causes lots of pain, and in turn this causes panic, and the person being choked realizes that he's literally fighting for his life, and he will become very, very violent. He'll do whatever it takes. He'll throw himself around, try and dislodge it, and you've got a real fight on your hands. The second problem is that it is targeting very vulnerable structures. The windpipe is comprised of a sort of cartilage which is very fragile. It's analogous to shellfish skeletons. And also within the larynx is the hyoid process, which is very similar in size and thickness to the wishbone of a chicken. Once that's broken, that is a prognosis negative. There's nothing anybody could do to save you. And similarly, crushing the the rest of the windpipe. So there is even inadvertently a chance of causing severe injury or death. Now, when the commandos and other personnel were learning this as part of the silent killing program, that was the aim. The aim was to kill the enemy. And that doesn't really translate over very, very well into general self-protection or law enforcement application, for example. If you are facing lethal threat, then it would be a viable technique. But other than that, the choke is best avoided. The next category are spine locks, and these are joint attacks on the cervical vertebra by hyperflexion, hyperextension, or hypertorsion of the neck vertebra. The techniques illustrated here are from the excellent My Method of Self-Defense by the aforementioned Master Kawaishi, who taught in France. He taught Feldenkrais and other European countries, including coming over to Liverpool. He was an esteemed judo instructor, and he wrote a couple of books, one on judo itself and the self-defense book. I'll put a link to it, and it's really a valuable resource, and it's got some really interesting techniques which are no longer taught. In Japanese jiu-jitsu, as used by the samurai, and also in wartime combatives, the spine locks were taught as lethal fight finishing techniques, and as such they don't translate over into general self-protection or modern law enforcement use. I have only taught spine locks selectively to a handful of people, most notably Marcus Wynn, who asked for my input when he was putting together a program when he was training his Federal Air Marshal teams, and he wanted techniques that, because they were operating as a counter-terrorist element, and they needed to be able to deploy several different lethal force options, and spine locks fitted the bill. One thing I will mention is both chokes and spine locks, which came from the ancient jiu-jitsu, came into the modern sport judo and more recently mixed martial arts, and are used as submission techniques. Be that as it may, in the street for self-protection we don't use submissions. We're not looking for a tap out. We're looking to render the assailant immobile or helpless, or to neutralize his attack. We don't want to kill him or severely injure him, but we're certainly not looking for a submission. So that kind of crossover doesn't really apply. We'll now look at another type of technique which applies to certain types of chokes. So there is another category, and these are bar chokes. And bar chokes are using an aid to secure the choke or the spine lock using a police truncheon, a riot baton, or a military riot baton. Also, the use of nunchuck, which, believe it or not, for a while was considered a police restraint weapon. Now, the problem with bar chokes is even worse than the choke itself, because the leverage is quite massive, and it really adds to the compression factor, adds to the high probability of injury, and really it's no longer suited, particularly in today's law enforcement use of force atmosphere, where such techniques would, anything really attacking the neck now is looked on with high degree of skepticism. Bar chokes in particular should really be relegated to a bygone era. I'll just add also the use of a garrote, which used to be taught to the military in wartime. I think it's rather less popular now. These tend to use suppressed pistols or long guns for sentry elimination, but it's certainly there. Techniques do linger on, and it's not really something that belongs in what we're talking about, which is general self-protection. And finally, we come to strangles. Strangles are properly termed sanguineous strangles and attack the blood circulation system to and from the brain by compressing the cephalic blood vessels and causing an occlusion or cutting off of the blood supply to the brain, which is the computer which controls everything we do, ideally leading to unconsciousness. Known in judo as Hadaka-Jime, rear naked strangle, and in United States law enforcement as the lateral vascular neck restraint, it is widely taught in both civilian and police use of force training. It's not painful, it doesn't cause panic, and it's extremely rapid. And if used properly, it is an effective technique which is nevertheless safe for the person you're applying it on, which again in this day and age is quite a consideration. In the next episode, in a few weeks' time, we'll go deeply into RNS stroke LVNR in the physiology, the technical intricacies. We'll demonstrate it in the gym, and we'll talk about its relevance and where it fits in. So stay tuned for that one, and have a look at the links below for the books and resources that we've discussed. See you in the next one.